do. All right, this is about as good as it's gonna get. All right. How's everyone doing this morning? It's nice to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Artemis Scantalides, and I am the owner of Iron Body Training Systems. I'm also a part-time strength coach for Cirque du Soleil, and I'm also the owner and creator of the women's strength workshop called I'm Not Afraid to Lift. The next I'm Not Afraid to Lift is coming June 2nd at MSC Strength and Conditioning in Weymouth, Massachusetts, which is right outside Boston, my hometown. And the early bird ends May 20th. So the things I'm going to talk about today, these are some of the things that you will learn at that workshop, ladies. So we're actually almost completely full. We are about 3/4 full. So if you're interested in signing up for that workshop, do it now because it's filling up really quickly and we haven't done a lot of promoting it. It's just been filling up. So link is in my bio if you're on Instagram. So anyway, so today, just to get started with the live broadcast, I'm going to talk about wrist position for kettlebell versus barbell. And depending on the tool, the weight training tool that you use, there is strength is a skill, right? So you have a different technique depending on the tool that you're using. So there's a saying, I'll start with the kettlebell, and there's a saying that there are no wrists in kettlebells. And what that means is that when you train with kettlebells, you always have a neutral wrist. You always have your knuckles to the ceiling. For those of you who are experienced in kettlebell lifting, maybe you've attended a Strong First Kettlebell certification or course. There's a drill that we do where we put a shoe or a flip-flop on the knuckles of on our fist, and we do a Turkish get-up. And we make sure that shoe doesn't fall off. It's the shoe drill. So you always want to have knuckles to the ceiling. You can balance a shoe or balance a glass of water and not spill it. One time there was an instructor who used half full bottles of water for people to really drive home the point. So there are no wrists in kettlebells, and the reason for that is the kettlebell is asymmetrically shaped. So when you hold it in your hand, the weight is offset. So in order to, since the weight is offset, you need to make that weight an extension of your arm. It needs to feel like it's a part of your arm. And after you practice with kettlebells over some time, you will really understand what that means, especially when you're doing Turkish get-ups and especially when you're doing presses. Now, it is also acceptable in the Turkish get-up and presses to have a slightly flexed wrist. And the reason for that is once the kettlebell, that allows you to really make it an extension of your arm. So you have sensory receptors in the heel of your hand. So what you want to do with this bell handle is you want it to sit low in the heel of your hand so you can tap into those sensory receptors. So by letting it sit low in the heel of your hand, it really becomes an extension of your arm. You see my wrist is just slightly flexed, right? Slightly flexed here. It's not completely straight, not completely neutral, slightly flexed. So it also, by having that slight flexion, it really helps the bell to become an extension of my arm. So I'm tapping into my sensory receptors here in the heel of my hand, which just goes all the way up the chain of my arm, helps to activate my triceps. It helps me to have a stronger grip and really squeeze that bell. And it also helps the mass of the bell, the mass of the weight that's on the outside of my arm to find that sweet spot on my forearm so that it really feels like it's an extension of my arm. So that's kettlebell. So no wrists in kettlebells, always neutral or slightly curled. Now, I'm doing this Facebook Live because I did have a question about wrist position. I did have a follower message me a while ago, and she commented that she couldn't keep her wrists straight when she was doing barbell bench press. And I replied to her and I said, that's correct. You do not want to have, it's not the same tool. So you do not want to have a straight wrist when you're working with the barbell and you're doing barbell bench press. You want to have a slightly extended wrist. Now, if you were like this with the barbell and if you were or slightly curled, you would not be leveraging your hand position in order to bench press the most weight. So since on the barbell, it's a symmetrical load, you need to create a shelf with your hands to evenly distribute that weight so that you can bench the most load. So different from kettlebells, your wrist position is going to be slightly extended. It doesn't have to be like this, but there's going to be a slight extension so that that weight, the barbell is resting a little bit higher on your hands. I'll just use the safety bar as an example. So right about here, right? And that is going to help you to create that shelf, right? It looks like a shelf, so that you can support the most weight for that symmetrical load. So keep in mind, depending on the tool that you're using, you're going to have a different technique in order to maximize how you use that tool and in order to use that tool. So I hope those quick tips were helpful for you this morning. And if you live in Boston or you're on the East Coast, please come. If you are a lady, because it's ladies only, please come to the workshop. I'm Not Afraid to Lift, June 2nd. Early bird ends May 20th. We're going to learn much more about this and actually be able to apply it throughout the day. And the early bird ends May 20th. Link is in my bio if you're on IG. And I will be back on Facebook Live really, really soon if you're in Vegas. My schedule's a little bananas, but please let me know if you're coming, and if I'm available, I will definitely try and make time to meet up with you and see you, or maybe you can come and get a lift in my garage gym. All right, I will see you all later. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me.